In a world of superheroes, there are names everyone knows. Legendary warriors. The saviors of humanity. But there is one very strange character. She has appeared in hundreds of stories. More than even the most famous heroes. And yet, almost no one remembers her. Because the truth is, she was never a superhero. She was just an ordinary girl. No natural powers. Not a genius. Not the chosen one. Her story began in a rather funny way. Not in a secret laboratory. Not from a scientific accident. But from a teenage comic book. Many years ago in a small town called Silverwood, there was a girl named Lena Hart. Lena's life revolved around school dances and the awkward emotions of first love. She was well known at school. Her clumsy and innocent moments were even turned into comic stories by her mother. And those comics became popular. But no one could have imagined that the girl in those gentle slice-of-life pages would one day step into a completely different world. A world of war, of monsters, and of superheroes. Because Lena Hart's destiny was never to simply live inside a comic book. She was meant to become a legend who stepped out of its pages. Before the name Wildcat ever appeared in the world of superheroes, Lena Hart was simply an ordinary teenage girl in the town of Silverwood. That small town was almost completely unremarkable. No superpowers, no epic battles, just school dances, and the drama of young love. Lena was the most noticeable girl in school. Not because she was powerful or extraordinary, but because she lived with boundless energy, a bit of impulsiveness, and a constant belief that her life was destined to become something special. She had a high school romance with Ryan Blake, the boy everyone in town considered the perfect guy. And by her side was Hazel Frost, a girl who was both her best friend and her rival in every youthful competition. The stories around Lena dates misunderstandings school drama sounded completely ordinary. But to Lena's mother, a comic book writer, all of it became the perfect source of inspiration. She began turning her daughter's life into a series of romantic comics. No one expected those comics to become popular everywhere. Within just a few years, Lena Hart, the girl from Silverwood, became a character known across the entire country. But there was one thing Lena didn't realize at the time. Fame and youth can bring a spotlight, but sometimes it also pulls you toward a fate no one could ever foresee. Lena Hart's fame slowly faded as she grew older. The teenage comics that once made the entire town of Silverwood proud became nothing more than memories of a bygone time. Lena was no longer the famous girl from the pages of those stories. She tried to live a normal life. She married Ryan Blake, the man who had once been seen as the perfect boy in town. But life after marriage was nothing like the romantic stories that had once been written about them. Ryan joined the military and later went to work for Nova Industries, a secretive corporation researching military technology. After the war he returned, but he was no longer the same person. Ryan became cold, short-tempered, and increasingly distant. Their marriage began to crack. Then one night something strange happened. A badly injured creature broke into Lena's house. It looked like a monster, its body covered in fur, its eyes wild and filled with pain. It was Dr. Orion Vale, a brilliant scientist who had just undergone a horrific experimental transformation. In his delirium, Orion accidentally revealed his true identity. Lena realized she was holding a secret that could destroy this man's life. And instead of panicking, Lena thought of something entirely different. A dream she had kept hidden for a very long time. She looked at Orion and said something that left even him stunned. "I'll keep your secret, if you help me become a superhero." Lena's strange proposal made Orion Vale think she was completely crazy. A girl who had once been famous for teenage romance stories now wanted to become a superhero. But Lena wasn't joking. She had always believed her life was meant for something bigger than old comic pages about her past. And Orion, though reluctant, eventually kept his promise. Not by giving her powers, but by giving her a chance. Years later, when Orion had become a temporary member of the hero team, the Vanguard Lena came to them to claim the promise he had made long ago. No one on the team believed she could survive on a battlefield filled with superpowered beings, until during a mission infiltrating a Nova Industries laboratory, they discovered an abandoned combat suit, a prototype device capable of enhancing the wearer's strength, speed, and reflexes. At first, the Vanguard had no intention of letting Lena anywhere near it. But in the chaos when the security system suddenly activated, Lena rushed forward on her own and put the suit on. Within seconds, her body synchronized with the combat system. Her reflexes surged. Her strength exploded. Lena Hart, the girl who once lived inside teenage comic pages, stepped into the battle of superheroes for the very first time. And from that moment on, she chose a new name for herself. Wildcat. The moment Lena put on the suit and took the name Wildcat, she believed her dream had finally come true. But the reality of the superhero world was nothing like what Lena had imagined. During battles alongside the Vanguard, Lena quickly realized she was completely unprepared for this life. The enemies she faced were nothing like the awkward situations from teenage comics. They were deadly creatures, war machines, and people willing to kill. In her very first battle, Wildcat was nearly taken down within minutes. If the members of Vanguard hadn't rescued her in time, she might not have survived. Lena began to doubt herself. Maybe the captain of the Vanguard had been right. Maybe she was just an ordinary girl trying to step into a world that was never meant for her. But what made everything even worse came from her past. Nova Industries, the organization the Vanguard had been investigating, had deployed a special warrior to hunt them down. A biologically enhanced soldier. Powerful. Brutal. His title was Mad Dog. And when his helmet opened, Lena froze. Because the man standing in front of her was Ryan Blake, the husband she once loved. The moment Mad Dog's helmet opened, Lena felt like her entire world collapsed. The man standing in front of her was not a stranger. It was Ryan Blake, the man she once loved. The man she once believed she would live a peaceful life with in Silverwood. But the Ryan, from those days, had been gone for a long time. After the war and the experiments of Nova Industries, Ryan had become nothing more than a cold-engineered soldier programmed to hunt down anyone who dared oppose the corporation. The battle was brutal. Even with the Wildcat suit enhancing her abilities, Lena couldn't stand against Mad Dog's overwhelming strength. Ryan fought without hesitation, without emotion, as if Lena were nothing more than a target to eliminate. Within minutes, the entire Vanguard team was defeated. Lena was slammed onto the cold steel floor of Nova Industries' laboratory. Her suit was barely functioning. Ryan stepped closer and looked down at her with icy eyes. "You've always lived in fairy tales," he said. "But the real world isn't meant for people like you." Lena didn't even have the strength to stand. For the first time since this journey began, she wondered if Ryan was right. Maybe she really was just an ordinary girl. A girl who had tried to become something she was never meant to be. Lena lay motionless on the cold metal floor of the Nova Industries laboratory. The systems in the Wildcat suit had almost completely shut down. The members of the Vanguard were imprisoned around her, and Ryan, more precisely Mad Dog, was preparing to finish it all. Everything seemed over. In that moment of despair, Lena thought back to the path that had brought her here. Not the battles, not the armor, not even the dream of becoming a superhero, but something much simpler. Ever since she was the girl in those comic books back in Silverwood, Lena had always believed that people could become better, even when the world changed, even when someone lost their way. Ryan had changed, but Lena still believed that somewhere inside him, the man she once knew still existed. That thought made her open her eyes. The last faint signals in the suit flickered back to life. Slowly, Lena pushed herself to her feet. Ryan looked at her with surprise. "Do you still not understand?" he said. Lena shook her head, her eyes steady. "No," she replied quietly. "You're the one who doesn't understand." Because this time Lena wasn't standing up to prove she was a superhero. She stood up because she believed every story could still change. Ryan, now Mad Dog, watched Lena stand up again, and for the first time in this battle he hesitated. Not because she was stronger, but because the look in Lena's eyes was exactly the same as it had been years ago. No fear. No hatred. Only determination. Ryan charged forward his enhanced biological strength, making every strike crash down like a hammer against the steel floor. But this time Lena didn't fight the way she had before. She didn't try to win with strength. She fought with willpower. Wildcat dodged, held her ground, and then struck back with every last bit of energy left in the suit. The two clashed in a final battle, as the laboratory shook violently around them. In the decisive moment, Lena had the chance to deliver the finishing blow. But she stopped. She looked straight at Ryan and said, "You're not this monster." Those words made Ryan freeze for just a second. But it was enough for Nova Industries' security system to be disabled, and for the Vanguard team to break free. Mad Dog was subdued. The battle was over. Lena stood in the middle of the ruined laboratory, breathing heavily. She wasn't the strongest. She wasn't the perfect hero. She was just a girl who once lived inside the pages of a comic, but chose to write her own story. And that was the moment Wildcat was truly born. If you want to know what happens next with Wildcat, comment 1 below.